You have a retching headache. You think nothing of it and pop in aspirin and chuck some water. The day goes on and nothing is working. A week passes by and you realize that the horrid pains you've been experiencing are not your average symptoms. After weeks of CAT scans, MRIs, and tests, the doctor diagnoses you with cancer, providing only 6 more months to live. The journey has just begun. When faced with terminal illnesses, patients have only pain and suffering to look forward to, death lurking to take the victim at any moment. Some patients, however, may wish to die earlier than the doctor's prediction by assisted suicide. However, whether this request will be fulfilled is not guaranteed. According to the Patients' Rights Council, euthanasia is defined as intentionally, knowingly, and directly acting to cause the death of another person, for example, giving a lethal injection. Although euthanasia and assisted suicide are frequently confused, they are not the same. Assisted suicide is intentionally, knowingly, and directly providing the means of death to another person. The person can then use that means to commit suicide. This could include providing a prescription for a lethal dose of drugs and is treated separately in the court of law.
Assisted suicide has been debated for centuries, dating back to the ancient Romans. However, the controversy has exploded over the past few decades. Medicine is more advanced than ever before, allowing patients to live in hospice care significantly longer than just a few decades ago. But is the extension of the due date always beneficial to the patient? In recorded history, assisted suicide was generally supported by the population and occurred rather frequently, sometimes even without the patient's consent. The Hippocratic Oath, written by Hippocrates, didn't allow doctors to provide deadly drugs to any patient, regardless of choice. This oath was frequently ignored as society's views were very lenient. It wasn't until the 12th century AD that the Hippocratic Oath became frequently practiced, as a result of widespread Christianity in Europe. Christianity placed a great value on life and opposed all forms of suicide. As people came to value human life, assisted suicide was seen as a sin, ending life before God did. Early American laws reflected these Christian values. Assisted suicide was strictly prohibited throughout the country all the way until the 20th century. The 20th century brought much debate over this issue, but in 1973, the Supreme Court ruled that ultimately there was no right to death. Yet, at the end of the 20th century, Oregon became the first state in the United States to legalize assisted suicide. The Death with Dignity movement supporting assisted suicide has gained some momentum. According to CQ researcher, Washington in 2008 became the second state, followed by Montana in 2009 and Vermont in 2013 to legalize assisted suicide. Last but not least, California in the current year of 2015 announces that it will follow the lead of the previous 4 states. With the controversy becoming more apparent, as well as more states standing behind this law, one must wonder, what do the American people really think of this issue? As of May 2015, according to Gallup Incorporated, 68%, or nearly 7 out of 10 Americans, believe that doctors should be allowed to aid terminally ill patients in ending their lives. This percent has nearly risen 10% each year for the past 2 years and is at an ultimate high. Many would link the increasing acceptance of assisted suicide to a heart-wrenching story that stormed the nation in 2013. According to CNN, 29-year-old Brittany Maynard from California decided to move to Oregon to end her life this way after getting the horrid news that she had breast cancer with only a few short months left to live. In a sense, Maynard became the face of the Death with Dignity movement and put a new spin on the issue. When many think of assisted suicide, they think of those who are usually older and suffering from a terminal illness. However, Brittany was young, just married, and ready to start a family, with so much left to live for. Her story made the American people realize that with this law, those who were terminally ill don't have to suffer anymore and could truly end their lives if they choose. As previously mentioned, Brittany Maynard moved to Oregon in order to end her life, since assisted suicide was illegal in California at the time of her illness. For the 5 states in which the law resides, there are various requirements. For example, as reported by procon.org, 2013, patients must be 18 years or older, a resident of that state, and able to consciously create a contract with a healthcare provider. Life expectancy must be no longer than 6 months for eligibility as well. So, the question becomes, if a patient meets all these requirements, should they go through with this process, and what are the benefits?
The issue of legalizing assisted suicide is one that is very complex and requires much consideration of the perspectives of advocates on either side. Those who support assisted suicide argue that the patient has the freedom of choice to decide whether or not they should suffer any longer. When a patient is terminally ill, it shouldn't be surprising that all those around them are emotionally affected by their illness as well. According to a study done by Nikki Swart and others, it was found that families who lost their loved ones from assisted suicide showed significantly less symptoms of grief and post-traumatic stress. By ending their lives at their time, on their terms, emotional suffering is alleviated from both the patient as well as the loved ones, allowing the family to move on. In life we are faced with many hard decisions, so why can't we decide to end our lives when we are terminally ill? Opponents of assisted suicide have many moral concerns regarding the procedure. Many believe that this law will result in a slippery slope. Once we allow terminally ill patients the right to end their lives, how will we stop our everyday citizens? According to CQ researcher, as of 2012, only 750 patients had chosen to end their lives this way in the state of Oregon. In 2012 alone, 77 people opted for assisted suicide. This goes to show that the slippery slope that many fear may not have any ground, considering less than 1% of patients consider this path. It is also a possibility that this option for those with terminal illnesses would ultimately extend to other patients as well, such as one with a mental health illness. However, the line would be drawn to only allow patients with no possibility of rebounding, unlike mental health illnesses and other illnesses with effective treatments. Misdiagnosis, though, is a major possibility. For instance, John Norton was a man from Massachusetts who was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease when he was only 18 years old. The doctors informed him that he would get progressively worse, be paralyzed, and die in 3 to 5 years. However, over time the disease passed, and now Mr. Norton is 75 and enjoying his life with his wife and children. Had assisted suicide been available in Massachusetts and Mr. Norton chosen this path, he would have missed out on all the joy that he would experience later in life. It can also be argued that instead of ending the life early, to work on improving the quality of life of patients in their final months. Many religions also oppose assisted suicide, as they place special value on life. They may believe that life is a gift given by God, and we should not be able to decide when we die. The choice belongs to God. However, many religious communities still debate this issue today.
So let's reflect on our opening scenario. You're diagnosed with cancer with just 6 short months to live. What should you do? Follow the path of Brittany Maynard? Do you choose to end your life on a good note? Do you end the suffering so that no one is forced to bear witness to your pain? Or do you believe that giving up is not an option and you must fight to the end? Clearly, the decision is a complex one, and it is hard to truly fathom without being in the shoes of those with terminal illnesses. The truth is, it really comes down to what you value. But remember, time is running out.